Hey there, everybody. We are starting up. It is about a minute past due, but we're going to get going. I'm John Gums with Dakota Grappler. We're going to talk wrestling tonight. It's going to be a great show. I've been looking forward to talk to the Dickinson co-head wrestling coach, Trevor Conrad. And of course, my right-hand man, Bill, who's usually on my far right side, is in the middle tonight because he came on first. But if I wanted, I could switch around, but that's fine. I get a pretty guy beside me tonight. But we're going to talk wrestling. Now, again, if you're the first time watching this, Dakota Grappler Live, we talk wrestling every week or every couple times every couple of weeks. But once the wrestling season gets going, we talk a lot about North and South Dakota wrestling. Now, tonight, I did put together an agenda so that you get kind of an opportunity to see what we're doing. So maybe I'll share the screen, but maybe not. But I'll just tell you my kind of agenda as it goes, so you guys know what's going to happen in this next hour. So people just popping in, and we'll go from there. So basically tonight, we're going to do a few intros and talk to Bill and talk to Trevor. Then after that, we're going to have some questions for Trevor tonight and how it's going with Class A wrestling in North Dakota and what his outlook is for this season, basically on what he's heard and what he knows, because he's got some insight probably. And then some high school wrestling WD updates, which I have heard because they've had a couple meetings and they're going to have more. Then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about senior nationals. Bill has always got some good insight there. I did look up some stuff. They do have the current seedings for the senior nationals that could change a little bit if some new names pop in. Then after that, I've actually got some rapid fire questions, which Trevor's done before with other people, but I've got a few wrestling questions for him. And then we're going to do a summary and last comments from Bill and I and probably from Trevor. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit probably about the next show. And then again, I want to remind everybody, go out there, share this video. Some of the first people out here, get people on. The more we have, feel free to ask questions. On the far side, we will see those and we'll try to post questions that are wrestling aspect or anything. Feel free to ask questions to Trevor, to Bill, or myself, and we'll do our best at trying to answer those. Other than that, just willing to have some fun and promote the sport of wrestling. So again, I'll introduce myself. I'm John Gums. I haven't done it in a while. I am the owner and editor of Dakota Grappler. I have been doing this since 1999, not the YouTube stuff, but I started promote wrestling back then when I was not coaching and just wanted to make sure that the wrestlers got the publicity they wanted. And so it's been, this is my 21st year promoting the sport of wrestling. Dakota Grappler was just kind of an idea that kind of grew into something a little bit bigger. I've published this is my 26th book I've done of a preseason, and I'm presently doing that. In fact, you can see a few bags under my eyes. I've been spending some nights starting to put this stuff together because I just got the questionnaires out. I limit the coaches. If you're a coach out there and haven't got your questionnaire, contact me at either dakotagrappler@gmail.com or john.gums@gmail.com, and I'll get you your questionnaire. I do have about, there's 150 teams I put into a book to highlight. And basically, I got probably about 30 of them in after the first couple of days. Usually that's the way it is. And then the last week, I have to put a little pressure on them, put a little push to make sure they get their stuff in. But Trevor got his stuff in and did a start there. I do have pictures. If there are some fans out there watching, if you have good wrestling pictures, I'm willing to put them in the book. That's usually one of the things that's difficult. I do take a lot of pictures at both the North and South Dakota Wrestling Tournament. Make sure we highlight our kids because not all the newspapers do what I feel they should be doing for the sport of wrestling. Other than that, feel free to contact me for any information. Not that I know it all when it comes to wrestling, but I have a few, I'd say, feelers out there that I can contact some people and try to find some information out there. Now, I do talk about high school wrestling mostly. That's kind of my forte. We do talk some wrestling in the college levels. And then if you have some kid wrestling stuff, feel free to go over to the wrestlingmeshesboard.com, which is part of dakotagrappler.com, and post your tournaments. Now, this is going to be the oddest year for wrestling tournaments, and we'll talk about that later. I know we're going to be working out the schedules. I usually put a master tournament schedule on there for the high school level. That also be updated daily pretty much because, I don't know, we're going to talk to Trevor about what his schedule's looking like this year. Other than that, let's get going. I just love the sport of wrestling, and I hope you guys promote this as much as I do because we need to get that out for all of those high school wrestlers so that if they do want to wrestle at the next level, they get an opportunity. Okay, beside me, Bill, let's introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, Bill Holton here coming at you from Central North Dakota. Been around the sport for a lot of years. Everything from obviously a wrestler to a coach to a fan, and really just a really big fan, and it's always fun to get on here and talk about wrestling. It'd be exciting tonight to talk to Trevor and meet Trevor. We've never actually met in person, so this will be a good time to get to know him and find out what's going on out in Dickinson these days. So that's what I'm about.
Okay, Trevor. Now I'll give you my first impression. To me, Trevor is a firecracker. And what I mean is he's excited. He's got his boys' attention, and he's not afraid to tell the kids what they need to do. Like, you need to get this done, but it's always in a civil manner. What's interesting is I'm a person at a wrestling tournament that watches everybody and listens close, because I want to analyze, but I want to learn. And I've learned a lot watching Trevor over the last 2 years. It really sees that he's maturing into one of the coaches that I would fear as a coach, because he has control of his program. And I really feel he's upcoming, because, man, I just watched the respect his wrestlers have and his parents have for him. And I give him kudos to start, because I tell you what, I do have a lot of respect for what he's doing with that Dickinson wrestling program. So Trevor, I know that's tough, but guess what? I want you to introduce yourself. The first thing I want you to do is just tell me, where you're from and how you got started in wrestling. Let's start that way, but tell a little bit about yourself too.
Yeah, thanks, John. I guess you must have got the $10 I sent you to say all that stuff. Yeah,
20, wasn't it 20? No.
yeah. Like you said, my name's Trevor Conrad. I'm one of the co-head wrestling coaches at Dickinson High School in Dickinson, North Dakota, and been a North Dakota guy for the last few years. I grew up in eastern Montana, which is really similar to western North Dakota, and been a wrestling fan my whole life. I can remember my parents asked me if I just want to try it as a 7-year-old, and didn't really think I had a choice. I just said, yeah, sure. And ended up enjoying it, and just enjoying the different aspect of it. Like, not everyone did it, but the ones who did it, I mean, you just kind of felt like you connected with those guys on a good level. And, going to the tournaments, making friends with kids from other towns, like, in the Glasgow, Montanas and the Billings, and then, the Willistons, where we would wrestle. So really enjoyed it at a younger age, and then kind of had some rough years in middle school, but then high school, I really found that was what I enjoyed doing, and just competing overall. And then ended up doing all right in high school, and then earned a scholarship to Dickinson State University, wrestled for the Blue Hawks. And my uncle had wrestled for the Blue Hawks in the early 90s. My mentor in high school, Jason Ackerman, he was a 3-time All-American at DSU, named after a DSU All-American, Trevor Wilson. My head wrestling coach, Tim Zodi, wrestled for DSU, I think back when they were DSC and they were the Savages.
Yep.
And then my uncle would introduce me to Thad O'Donnell when I was younger, and kind of treated him like a celebrity when I could meet him at the Cowboy Invite in Miles City or at the Dickinson Invite. I just thought, oh man, that's Thad O'Donnell. And the fact that he came out and recruited me sure meant a lot. So to wrestle for his final 4 years of a storied career there was pretty memorable. And then the first year of Justin Schleck's tenure for the Blue Hawks was pretty awesome. We had a fun group of guys there, and to still stay within the community and be connected to DSU wrestling still. And then I didn't really know much about the high school program here, and probably most of my college time didn't plan on staying in Dickinson. Kind of thought I'd head toward the Black Hills, maybe lead Deadwood, or even Hewlett. I mean, I don't know. I just wasn't planning on staying here.
Oh, yeah.
Things change, and had a job offer, and you're young and you say yes. And now I'm on this is my 5th year with the Dickinson High wrestling program, and 4th as a head coach. And
8 years in Dickinson, 9th year already in Dickinson school system.
Yeah, so I've been coaching high school football. This is my 9th year for the high school, so I've actually been coaching football longer.
Now, were you always a big kid, or did you just kind of grow all the time?
Yeah,
because
no,
wrestling heavyweight. I remember you wrestling heavyweight out of Dickinson.
Yeah, definitely. I wrestled about 160 early in high school, and then the next 3 years it was 215. Just kind of grew into it as my natural weight. I think I weighed about 200 in my state finals match, but just kind of like the aspect of not having to cut a lot of weight. And then I wrestled 197 a couple of years, and then Thad texted me at the end of my 2nd year and asked if I wanted to bump up to heavyweight, and I couldn't help but smile when he asked me. I just thought, oh, this sounds great. I could just eat what I want, and I wasn't cutting much weight, but it was just something different for me. And yeah, then I wrestled 285 those 3 years and weighed about 250, and now I'm walking about 215 or something. So yeah, I kind of always been bigger, but Yeah, definitely packed on the pounds in college.
So usually as a bigger kid, how is your football then? Before I ask that question, get a little bit farther, did you grow up right in Glendive, or were you in a small town close to Glendive?
Yeah, we grew up on the outskirts of Glendive, so that's where my dad grew up, and then my grandpa was a teacher there about 30 years, so he had quite a legacy there just as a teacher. But in Glendive, never really a tradition-rich program, to be honest with you. Up the road is Sidney, Montana, and the success Guy
messed with Sydney's wrestling program, Guy Melby.
So my senior year, we didn't lose to them in a duel. They were just a little down, and I feel like they're kind of like Iowa, where even in the down years, they always have a state finalist. Just like Iowa's always got a national finalist. So we ended up kind of jumping over Sydney. Then we actually placed 4th in the state tournament my senior year. Kind of came out of nowhere and won the 2 division titles in school history those years. And we'd never been top 5 before then. So that was kind of cool to leave that mark. And we had, I think, combined 5 kids or 6 who in their careers had wrestled in the state finals. So, and then one kid went to Division I, Tyler Kinn in Northern Colorado. And Cole Bilbrey and I wrestled together at DSU. So pretty cool to see kind of the turnaround with the program those few years.
Sure, definitely. No, Bill, you got a question right away? I've got millions of questions for Trevor.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. So when did you get to Dickinson, and what was your experience like there wrestling in college, and what kind of how did you see a change from wrestling in high school?
Yeah, so I graduated high school at Dawson County High School in 2011, and then I enrolled in DSU later that fall. I did the 5-year plan. I redshirted my first year and knew that's what I wanted to do. It was kind of down between Minot State when they were starting their program and University of Mary, and just kind of really took a look at it and said, if I want to be the best wrestler that I can be in college, I think Dickinson State's the place to go. And I think I made the right choice there. We had a pretty good program over the years. Jesse Hellinger, one of my good friends, he was a national champion in 2013 at 197, and numerous All-Americans, Lane Overson and Sean Elkins, those small Region 4 guys from Class B, North Dakota. Yeah. Couple roommates of mine. And the program, when you talk about like a coaching change, going from Thad O'Donnell, been there 20 years, to Justin Schleck, just seamless. That last year of Thad's tenure, he was the dean of the health and the HPER program at DSU. So he was the dean of that program. He was the head golf coach and head wrestling coach. And he just said, it was kind of time for him to maybe step out, and he wanted to keep the cupboard full for the next coach. And and that next year, I believe we had 4 or 5 All-Americans under Justin Schleck's first year. So, but I mean, practices remained the same. The schedule was the same. That 4th year, Thad kind of had a bold move and tried the 1 semester season. And that was probably my favorite aspect of wrestling at DSU, other than like the relationships and stuff. Those are, second to none. But when he talked about that, we were all pretty excited about it. And I liked it to kind of overload that fall semester of classes. And then that spring was a little bit lighter, not too much. But I just felt like, when we went into the spring that year after New Year's, we just said, hey, here's our 9-week slate, from going to Midland in Nebraska to the national tournament. And for me, I just felt like that was like a more narrowed focus, and I could put a little more focus into that aspect and kind of peak at the right time of the year. So that I really liked what DSU did there, and I would be a proponent for college wrestling just doing that all together.
Right. What does it mean to you to have a great mentor to start? Because I know Dobitz really well, and I always felt he'd be a great mentor for somebody because he always was calm, cool. He always seemed very calculated as a coach. What was it like for him to be your mentor?
Yeah, I couldn't ask for anyone better to be a mentor, and I've had quite a few in my wrestling career with like Jason Ackerman, I was saying, and then Thad and Justin with college wrestling. But then to just find out who Pete Dobitz was, he called me when I was still at DSU in my spring semester, and he just said, "Hey, is this Trevor?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, this is Pete. Do you want to be head wrestling coach?" And never met the guy, and I said, "I don't know if that's the right plan for this program." He goes, "Well, give it a year, 2 years, 4 years, whatever you want. Then you'll be head coach." And he's just been a mentor, and not only wrestling, but as a teacher, he's a fine educator, and as a family man, in our faith life, we talk a lot about our faith, and he actually just lives a block down from me right here where I'm doing the interview. So his family's been really great with my family. Our first kids were twins, and they had twins as well. And he got me to coach summer Babe Ruth baseball with him the last 3 years. So he just goes, "Hey, you want a part-time job? I need baseball coaches." I said, "Yeah, I'm not the guy you're looking for." He goes, "You'll work." Why don't you just come?"
He found the sucker. Yeah. No.
Yeah. So no, he's been great. I mean, I could bounce any idea off him, and just a great motivator. And like when he was, we were co-head coaches for 1 year, and he was talking about stepping away, and really wanted him to stay on for one more year. I just thought it'd be better for the kids in the program, and that's when my wife and I were expecting our twins, and he said, "I talked to my family, and because you guys are having twins, I'll stick around another year." So I suckered him into that too. But he's just such a great manager of the kids, and the paperwork. Like we joke on the wrestling staff, he's like a Jedi. I mean, the guy can just get things done, and even if, like he said, I don't know much about wrestling, but man, just the way that he relates to the kids, and if he needs to be a firecracker to the kids, he can certainly do it, and the kids respect him and look up to him. And
he can play good cop and bad cop, and both respected both ways.
Yeah, like I said, he's a Jedi. I don't know how he does it.
Well, that's pretty cool. No, I go back a long time with the Dickinson program with Michelson and way back even before. But I tell you what, you've come with a great line of coaches there, and I'm very happy for you. Now, perspective. Now, looking back at stuff, I always feel that hindsight's 20/20. But now this is going to be your second year removed from that dual state championship, beating the Demon Madhouse. I don't know the best way to say it. They're so dominant. And I have never seen a happier group of wrestlers in my life than that Friday night when you guys won the duel. Honestly, it was like heaven to so many wrestling fans. I've seen so many tears in the crowds of parents going like it was the impossible dream. Now, looking back, what was the biggest highlight for you that wasn't at the state tournament that year? And what was the building blocks to get your guys in the, and I've heard some stuff of your mindset stuff, but give me a little bit of insight on the inside of Dickinson wrestling when it came to that 2019 season, 18-19 season, of course.
Yeah. I don't know if I could just pick one memory that was, the building. I think the building block, like you said, was our wrestling mindset, and we started the year before, so it kind of had the foundation laid. But we had 6 seniors on that team who were all at least 2-time state placers. Most were 3, and
good team leadership. You're thinking, right?
Yeah. That leadership the kids had, we really put them in a leadership point, in a leadership position their junior year, and so we kind of came in, and the kids knew how to warm up the team before tournaments and what to say to the team. And they did a really good job of communicating, like with us coaches, of what they think's working, what they think's not working. And then when we needed to tell them how to do things, they really accepted it. And you just had some kids battle through some things. I mean, we had Brendan Johnston on that team who was 120 all year after wrestling 126 as a junior. And he says, "Coach, I can bump down to 113 at the end of the year." And that changed up our lineup. And I said, and we talked to the staff and go, like, this is him asking us to do this. And he said, "It's going to be a tough 2 weeks, but I can do it." And I think at the time he was ranked 4th in the state at 120 and then made the state finals at 113. Matthew Meschke at 145, I believe. He wrestled Ryan Ripplinger, and I think maybe lost by 10. He didn't get teched, but 2 weeks earlier he had been teched in the second period in the conference title duel. And at the state tournament, he almost got a takedown at the end and really kind of set the tone after that match. And we find out that week that he had a torn ACL in the match. And just seeing how well he wrestled, and like a Tate Nordby, he was had like 8 seconds to get a tech and ended up getting the tech at the last second. And then Caleb Usher, who just had the match on his shoulders and did what he does best. He got a low single, a sweep single, and got a wing and turned a kid just like it was a regular match. And but you talked about like the parents and the kids, and that's what's been probably the biggest blessing here in Dickinson is the parents and the kids. I mean, there are guys who have been in the Dickinson Wrestling Club for 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 13 years.
Built that foundation. Yes.
Yeah, they did. And so they knew what had to be done. And we told them, hey, if we're going to do something we've never done, we got to do things we've never done, in terms of like the lifting and the mindset and the practices, and went to the Rumble on the Red for the first time in quite a while. So things like that, the parents bought in, and that makes our job as coaches so much easier.
Definitely. Bill, right away.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. Did you guys wrestle at the Rotary and some of the tournaments coming from Montana when you were in high school?
Yeah. We went to Dickinson and Bismarck. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So what was it like when you started bringing your high school team, the Dickinson team, to, as a coach coming to the Rotary? That had to have been kind of a fun event.
Yeah. It was pretty fun. I always enjoyed the North Dakota tournaments. I got more family in North Dakota than Montana, and I always felt like I wrestled better there and could kind of relax, have more fun. And as a coach, it was just like, oh, hey, this is, 5 years ago I was wrestling here, and I hear the mistakes I made. This is the cool things I did. And just to kind of go through that as a coach, you feel like you go full circle, and then you get the hospitality room, and that's another level when you get to eat there. But just kind of knowing the hallways where the kids can do their sprints and stuff. And then the kids, because like when you walk in the first time, none of them really knew me from college wrestling. And so here's this guy coming into the program, and Dobitz let me do the practice plan by the first or second month of that season. And then we go to Bismarck, and they go, oh, coach, like you wrestled here. And yeah, I played here a couple times. So to be able to relate with them there, that's kind of when that relationship started to deepen with a few of them. And then they kind of go, oh, like who'd you wrestle from here and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool as a coach.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's one of those things that you kind of, those milestones as the seasons go by. You say, geez, I was a wrestler here, and then I became a coach in this room, and then the day comes that you be a parent of a wrestler going to those same tournaments. It's kind of fun to watch it all progress. So
yeah, I guess I never thought of that, but I guess
well, I didn't either until it happened.
I am getting old. I guess I am getting old too. So
So now, as the head wrestling or co-head wrestling coach now, what is your stress for kids going multi-sport? Are you still pushing kids in the spring a little bit, or you find the certain ones? I'm a big football guy. I love it. I push all my wrestlers toward football first, and then in the spring, I'm hoping they do some more spring wrestling. What's kind of your philosophy when it comes to having kids wrestle multiple seasons or do multiple sports?
Yeah, I like the Kyle Berwick, the Jared Fronick examples we've had in North Dakota here. Kyle Berwick, 3-sport athlete, and still found time to wrestle in the spring. And Jared Fronick, all-state football player as well, wrestling for NDSU. I mean, at Dickinson High, we're not the largest Class A school. We're kind of on the smaller end, but, not one of the smallest. But we definitely stressed to our kids 3 sports. And that year that we won the state duels, I think every starter of ours had played at least 2 sports, if not 3, and maybe even 4 with like a summer baseball. But Troy Berg, our state champion last year, he's our first state champion since 2007. He's been an all-conference guy in football and baseball as a sophomore and freshman. Didn't have his sophomore baseball season, but as now his 3rd year starting for the football team at running back and linebacker. So I think that's a great example for all of our kids that he's a successful student athlete of ours and 3-sport athlete. And that's what we stress at Dickinson High, just kind of to build the Dickinson High culture, not just of the wrestling team, but every sport team. We want athletes, and what's the best way to be an athlete, but to compete year round. And you can definitely find time to wrestle in the spring, even if you're going to do track or baseball. But we had a wrestler who did track a couple of years ago, and he said, yeah, I kind of found myself nervous before an event, but I don't really I'm not like that passionate about track. And Coach Hayes, our other coach, said, well, now you're learning to compete in another atmosphere. And that's awesome. So good for you.
No, definitely. How about you, Bill? What do you think? Give me your aspect of multi-sports. I know your boy did.
Yeah, no, I've always been a believer in the multi-sport competition. I think or
activities too. You could be
all activities. Around this house we did them all, but one thing I think you just brought up is the ability to learn to compete in another avenue, another aspect. I think those are just part of becoming well-rounded athletes and just well-rounded humans, right?
Yeah.
Overall, I guess that kind of comes into some parenting philosophy too. But our goal has never been to raise good kids, right? Our goal's always been to raise good adults, and that's that's what's happened, over the years. I mean, as they learn to deal with different people and different athletics and different activities, at the end, it all kind of comes together. So I think there's just a lot of value if it can be done, right? I mean, there's some of these great big schools, it's tougher, but for the most part, I think it's great for these kids. I do have a question now that, at Dickinson, now this year obviously was a pretty weird year, but are you having many kids that are wrestling freestyle and wrestling in the, in the spring and summer out of the Dickinson program? Is that something that you're kind of seeing happening, or?
Yeah, like our high school kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. We in the last few years we've upped the ante on the freestyle wrestling in the summer, especially. That's kind of what I've taken notice of. My first year, after that first year I coached, we didn't have any guys go to junior nationals or junior duels. And I mean, I myself, in Montana, the big thing was Disney duels, actually, down in Florida. Right. I mean, we still had the Fargo Nationals team, but where we were, Guy Melby ran the Disney duel camp. So I was kind of learning about it as a coach as well. And Luke Melmer's been awesome with any question I ask of him. And he, just really passionate about that. And he does a good job. So, and being from Dickinson, a lot of our kids trust him, and, I've known him for a while. So after my first year being head coach, as my second year in the program, we had one wrestler, that was Tate Nordby, who did the junior duels, junior nationals. And then in the middle of that summer, we went to NDSU for a team camp and got third. And he said, he's like, guys, like, I'm getting so much wrestling. I'm doing, wrestling these guys. I'm learning Greco. I'm not very good at it, but it's just more mat time. And then he went and ranked number 1 that season. And we kind of use that as an example. Like, his off-season work, a lot of the coaches knew, the time he had put in, and he was the number 1 160-pounder coming into Class A that year. And then not this summer because of COVID, but the summer before, we went from that 1 wrestler to 4, doing both junior duels and junior nationals. So that progression has been really awesome in a short 3-year span, going from 0 to 1 to 4. And, some of the guys are like, I can only make 1 work. And so Tate was a good kid to say, like, junior duels, you're going to get more guaranteed matches. And then a couple of kids wouldn't think about it, and then would kind of receive a call from someone, hey, need this weight class for junior nationals. Can you make it? And the kids would go, and, maybe they go 0-2 at freestyle or in Greco, and they're like, well, I got a good 2-week camp in the summer, and I learned more Greco and freestyle than I ever have in my life. So I think our kids are excited. And I think this year, I was really bummed when Fargo Nationals, and I know everyone was when it got canceled, but I think we would have had 7, 8, or 9 guys there. We had a lot of kids with that sour taste in their mouth after we didn't make the state duels. And I know, everyone's really, ready to go for wrestling after the state tournament, but I think we would have had 7, 8, or 9 kids go who had told me, hey, coach, I'm really, really wanting to go. And, things just happen, I guess.
Well,
yeah, that's great to hear. I'm glad you're getting some focus out there on that, and it's good to see that those kids really develop in those summer programs. So
yeah,
definitely.
And just the confidence that they get. They come in and they're showing the younger kids some stuff, trying to be the big bad guy, doing a leg lace or something. And but they enjoy it, and then they find, like one of our kids said, yeah, this one kid from the eastern part of the state thought he was just a total bad guy, and he ended up being one of the coolest guys on Team North Dakota. So just those, like, friendship skills.
The first impressions aren't always what the people are, because guess what? When you're in competition, sometimes it brings out the worst in you until you get to know him. It's like, God, I hate that guy, and then all of a sudden you get by him and you're going, he's just competitive. Once I get with him and know him, guess what? He just wants to make everybody else around him better. I've seen that many times in all the sports I've done. Is you got to reserve that first impression a little bit. Okay, well, I've got a couple different questions to ask you in the area of coaching philosophy, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
The 3 areas of coaching philosophy that I'm interested in hearing about. One is the coach-wrestler relationship. So I'm going to give you a little, and then I want to know some of your coaching philosophy on weight management. And then I want to know some of your coaching philosophy of bringing spirituality into wrestling. Because what's interesting is I caught that with your team last year. Is you guys were, I think, in the hallway at the state. No, it was 2 years ago at the state wrestling tournament, and I watched you guys as a team pray, which I don't see that very often. Century does it, but there's a lot of other teams. So I noticed something, that there was a team bond that goes to a different level. So maybe that's part of my philosophy. But we'll touch about those. Let's first talk about your coach-wrestler relationship philosophy. A little bit there. Anything in particular?
Yeah. Just, first and foremost, you just got to let the kids know that you love them and you're there not for that coaching glory or, to get that state coach of the year. But, we're here as coaches for those kids. And I mean, gosh, I had a blast in my 4 years of high school wrestling. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do 7th and 8th grade high school wrestling like in North Dakota, South Dakota, such a bummer. But these kids, I mean, I had such a blast in Glendive, and I wouldn't even say we were the most successful program, but then, to go 5 years in college and just to see the things that I've noticed about myself and the ways I grew, like if I can give that chance to any of those kids, like I think that's awesome. If those kids can go from being like a shy, hesitant kid to someone who's confident about their abilities, not only on the mat, but just in life, like when they go, I've wrestled for Dickinson High for 3 years. I was a part of something special. Like I know I'm worth something, and maybe wrestling brings that out, but just so they know they got some people around them who care about them and love them, and getting asked to write some letters of recommendation for kids who have been out of the program 2 years later, or hear from those guys who have been out for 4 years. It's pretty special, and just to let those kids know we're here for them and we care about them. And we talk, especially Coach Hayes and I, we're close in age, but when you do something like last year, we decided, we had one of our leaders asked over Christmas break, can we do like lifting and then practice just boom, boom, and then be done for the day, which we kind of talked it over and said, if you want to talk about like the time management stuff, yeah, that's going to be easier for our guys. But like I really wanted them to get a good hard lift in the morning, rest for about 7 hours, and then come back for practice. And is that inconvenient for them? Yes. But what I hope is that when they're in our position or even 10 years out, they go, okay, like that makes sense, because he wants us to get as much out of practice as we can. And so, it's kind of things like that where maybe they don't necessarily see it. And hopefully in a few years we can talk about it and go, oh yeah, coach, I now realize what you were trying to get through to us there. So I think that's just one of the best things about that coach wrestler relationship is what you build during the season, during their competition careers. And then when they get off into college and stuff. And I just passed one driving through town today and, just yelled, "Hey, Conrad," out the window. And I don't know, it just kind of puts a smile on your face. And
Coach,
it's pretty special.
I always hear the one coach, "Hey, coach," even many years later. And that's one of those respect factors. Okay. How about this? How many coaches do you have in the room, and name a few of them? I heard I know 6 to 8. How many coaches? I've seen about 6 to, I don't know how many you guys have. How many coaches you have, and name some of them so I can hear some of the names.
Yeah. You're a pretty good counter. That year we won state dual, we had 10. And then last year we had 9. And yeah, we're pretty blessed. Got Coach Jeremiah Hayes and myself co-head coaches, and then Cody Wolf, like you talk about mentors.
Yep, I know Cody. Yep,
Cody Wolf, who's been a head coach in the past, but he definitely brings a good perspective of being a head coach. But he's never been the guy to say, "Well, this is how I did it. We need to do it." He'll just offer an opinion and say, "Hey, I think our kids are out of shape," and he'll go back to eating his popcorn or something. Just kind of let us take it as it is. And he's been around, a guy who grew up in Dickinson. His dad was a state champ. The guy who knows Dickinson wrestling inside and out. Casey Cook's been a long-time assistant. I knew him from his days in Miles City, and he's been around a while. One of those JV coaches who will just do anything. He was in Troy Berg's corner when he won state, and him and Troy have a pretty good rapport there. And a couple of guys like Kyle Watson, Colton Hill, they're Montana, Wyoming guys who are at the middle school level but come up and help with the high school, and they played football for DSU. So bringing that college student athlete perspective just from another sport. And Kyle Watson's got a cool story. He was a state finalist out of Wyoming, and when he played football at DSU, he'd always sign up to do the Tyler Plummer Classic. Him and I wrestled my first year in college for third place there, and these kids in the room would be like, "Wait, you didn't wrestle in college?" He goes, "No, I just did one tournament every year just to see how I would do." And they're like, you're kind of crazy, And he's like, "Nope, I just go in the room for 2 weeks, get in shape." And that was my tournament for the year. So pretty cool there. And then Dylan Jepson, he was a state finalist from Killdeer.
Yep, Killdeer.
Yeah, he's actually my brother's roommate. They're playing football together. And he's come into the room and been really good with the kids because they remember him wrestling in Killdeer, and can remember watching him in the state finals and stuff. So great coaching staff. I mean, just not really like, one guy's in charge of everyone. It's a lot of us will do pretty much anything for the kids. And can trust a lot of people with a lot of roles. And Nevada Crimmins is a volunteer assistant and does a lot for the
Been
kids.
around the sport for a while too. Know Nevada very well.
Yep, Watford City guy. So good businessman in the community and just really loves the sport.
Definitely. No, another thing I noticed, which is I've always thought of kind of the century mold. I've noticed you standing away from the corner and letting other coaches manage, especially at the state wrestling tournament. I did notice you were not sitting in the chair at the state finals. Noticing that you were very close, you were the first to get a kind of a hug, but you allow other coaches to coach, which is tough for a lot of head wrestling coaches. What's your philosophy on that as you go into that? Because that is part of the coach wrestling relationship.
Yeah, it's the wrestlers wrestling the match. I mean, us coaches had our glory back in the day, and kind of cool thing we do in our program is the week of the region tournament, we have the kids put down 4 coaches' names who they would prefer in the corner, and it's kind of like a trial all year long. Like whoever coaches you in the corner is whoever coaches you in the corner. And so at the week of the region tournament on our Mindset Monday, we just tell the kids, this is about you. This is not about us. You will not offend any of our coaches. And that comes from having a really understanding coaching staff. And just in case the top 2 choices aren't, like if they're coaching someone, who would be 2 others? So for Troy Burke's state finals match, Casey Cook was there and he was on his list. And then I was walking by Dylan Jepson and he's like in joggers and a parka or something. I don't know. And I passed him. I said, hey, you ready to go in the corner for the state finals? And he goes like, what are you talking about? I said, you were on his list. Go ahead for it. And I mean, that's Troy's match. That's not my match or Coach Hayes' match to wrestle. And like you said, Coach Hayes and I were definitely right by the area there. But but then I started noticing some other programs did it. Not saying we set the trend, but it was comforting knowing that some other teams did that, because I remember my state finals match, I kind of wanted a coach there and didn't have it, and wasn't a big deal, but I kind of look back and go, gosh, I felt like I really had a good, like you said, coach to wrestler relationship. And would that have made a difference? I mean, I don't know, but I kind of always look back on that and like, oh, that would have been nice to have had a say. And I think the wrestlers appreciate it because then they know that their voice is heard and that it is about them. It's not about us.
Oh yeah. And I would remember about 10 years down the road and said, you remember when you didn't pick me in your corner? No.
Yeah, right.
I'm a hard time about 10 years down the road. And, you won it without me, but did I? Yeah, no. Just definitely. It's something to have fun with, but I tell you what, that is a great philosophy. And I've been privy of seeing some of these things that people don't realize. I'll guarantee that your parents and the main wrestler are the ones who should know. And as coaches, guess what? You're secondary. And some coaches don't realize that you're so secondary when it comes to that. This is such a big match. It doesn't have to be a state finals. It could be a first match of a tournament. It could be anything. Yeah. Where is the wrestler comfortable? And if he's if head coach, you can find that. Is the wrestler going to wrestle better? Yes. I really believe 99% of the time when you get to the state wrestling tournament, you yelling in the match shouldn't decide it. That should have been decided weeks to months ago of what's happening. And I'm very happy to see that as a young coach for you to decide that information. That's great. Okay, now the second part. What was the other ones? Oh, weight management. Now, I've always called it weight management. I hear people saying how much weight are you going to lose or you're cutting weight. What is some of your team philosophy? Now, what's interesting is I know we do descent plan in the state of North Dakota, and that's really helped wrestlers. When I was in the day, guess what? We just worked our butt off, and we decided based on some doctors saying, yes, you can do it or not. It wasn't based on as much science that is out there now. Tell us some of your philosophy with weight management.
Yeah, I think it's an area that I've matured in the last few years as a coach, because in high school, I didn't do any weight cutting, wrestled wherever I weighed, and I felt better there. And so I thought, well, if that's how I do it, everyone should do it, And so in college, like I said earlier, I when I bumped up to heavyweight, I competed a lot better, because for me, I focused more on wrestling and kind of lifted like a football player, rather than my mindset was more about, making weight, and that was the victory, because it wasn't. So when I got into coaching, I just had blinders on. I said, weight cutting's dumb. Everyone's going to wrestle better when they're bigger, blah, blah, blah. And that was the year, my third year in the wrestling program. Second year as a head coach, I told the wrestler, like, hey, you need to wrestle 126. It's where you're going to be. And I mean, he struggled a little bit. And then at the end of the year, like I told you, he said, hey, I think I can he went down to 120 and then said, I can go down to 113. And to see the change in his demeanor when he was 113, he realized, I am bigger than these guys. I'm still pretty quick. And I think I can wrestle better here. And he made the state finals. Now, had he stayed at 120, sometimes there were some mental hurdles there. And I mean, I don't know if he would have made a state finals. I think, like I said, he was ranked 4th or 5th at that time. But it seemed like sometimes he would be wrestling like, oh, this guy's bigger than me, or he's been to a state finals before. And so that really opened up my eyes to know that, okay, not everyone wrestles better if they're bigger. And then I did read something on a wrestling website basically affirming that. And so, I mean, you got guys who are going to wrestle better when they're cutting as much weight as possible, like according to the descent plan. For me, if I could wrestle a guy 350 pounds, I'd absolutely be fine with it because I'm just focused on wrestling. And then, I had a cousin, Cole Bilberry, who wrestled with me at Dickinson State, and he said he felt like he was his best when he cut just a little bit of weight, like 3 to 5 pounds. He said, I didn't want to feel fat, but I just wanted to know that I was kind of trim a little bit. So I think it's just up to the wrestler and what he thinks or she thinks is going to be best for him. And it's kind of like education. You try to personalize it to everyone, and finding that out as a coach is tough, but it just comes from a lot of conversations with a lot of kids. And that's where I feel like in the last few years, I've matured a little bit as a coach and come to that understanding.
Sure. Some of the taking ownership for themselves. It's not the coach's decision, it's mine, and then they have to live with some of the decisions they make. Correct.
Yeah. And I tell my football players, I said, I've never told a kid he has to cut weight. I may say, we have a varsity spot for you the next weight class down, but I'm never going to tell a kid you have to come in and make 135 if you're wrestling 152. Like it's never going to be that way. But, I will be real with the kid and say, hey, you're a salty wrestler, and you can make the starting lineup if you lose 8 pounds. Talk it over with your parents. And we had a kid the year we won state duels who was our heavyweight. He weighed 199 pounds. And I just said, here's the option. We don't have a heavyweight. We're going to go in the state dual tournament. And it's kind of embarrassing to be there with an open weight class, especially class A. And he talked it over, text with his parents, text me that night, said, Coach, I'd love to be your heavyweight. Weighed in 199 pounds and made it. But, at the end of the day, he was part of a pretty good team. So every kid's different, and just it comes with a lot of conversations, a lot of honest conversations.
Well, I believe sometimes weight cutting or weight management is very selfish in a coach's sense, and I'll tell you why. Here's what's interesting, and I'll be a little opinionated and might break some hearts here a little bit, but what's interesting is if I would have stayed selfish as a coach or a parent this last year, Century would have taken second at state. But it's not my program to say anything in that sense. But now the Century coaches are out there. Here's what's interesting. They allowed a senior who was ranked at a weight class go as an extra in a weight class and beat the wrestler on our team that was the varsity kid. And it cost Century the difference in the state tournament. And you guys know this. He was a state finalist, ended up losing. And the other wrestler got points, but guess what? The difference in the points of our wrestler who was already cut down. So then the weight class above it, we don't score as many points. And then the weight class below he cut to, as a senior, he made the finals, but he was an unattached wrestler for Century. So this year we had, and I'm trying to say here is that if I would have been selfish, I would have hated that. But guess what? As a person that believes it's the kids' thing to do it, I didn't feel it was wrong. I did have a parent come up to me and said, "What are we doing?" And I said, "It's not we, it's the kid who makes the choice." So I was happy for the Century coaches for not forcing a kid to wrestle a different weight as a senior. He wanted to make the state finals, and he beat Dakota, who was on my last broadcast. He beat another wrestler in his team in the semifinals, cost our team 10 to 12 points. And so what's interesting is it takes one of those coaching moments that you really have to think hard. What's more important, our team taking second or this kid getting the right experience, getting his chance to be in the state finals? And as a senior, guess what? He still had to win, and he did. And so, ruffle the feathers for some coaches or some parents. I think it was done right. It was done right by the Century coaches. And I know I had some parents mad when I said, guess what? We don't get to control that the wrestlers do. So I don't know, maybe I'm on a tangent a little bit, but you know the situation, I think, as a Dickinson coach. I think a lot of people were surprised that we had a wrestler decide just last minute who was a senior, who was ranked third at the weight class above, but knew that he'd have a great chance of making the state finals if he beat his own opponent in the room. Yeah, definitely. So here's the next one. Philosophy now on, I guess I had one more and I can't remember what it was. I'm getting lost here. Bill, do you remember my third one? I had one more philosophy.
Yeah, your philosophy on lifting and weight training during the season.
Yes, let's go to that.
Yeah. I think lifting and strength and conditioning in the season is crucial. And that's something that I kind of take back from my experience. Glendive, just a little smaller town, growing up there, and we didn't have, we had the weights classes in college, but our coach just said, hey, if you want to come early and work out in the mornings, you can come work out. And that did anything that consisted of either rolling around on the mats or lifting with no program, just going in to lift. And did it my junior year. And then I remember my senior year, like, I don't know, I kind of want to sleep in a little bit. And that's what I kind of attribute to myself not reaching my goals, is I didn't do those extra things in the mornings. And then you get to Dickinson State, powerhouse in NAIA for quite a while. And they've got a very consistent strength and conditioning program. And, through the acceleration program, a lot of gains made there, muscle wise. And we did kind of, I think, if everything goes right, we have 2 days from Labor Day until nationals with preseason and then with practices and tournaments and stuff. But, just kind of showing what you are capable of. And I try to do my best to differentiate the high school wrestling experience and the college wrestling experience. But that's one thing that I think high school programs need to do, is lift also with their seasons. And whatever this season is going to look like, who knows? But I know in the last couple of years, we've been fortunate to have consistent lifting in the mornings, with practice. And 2 years ago, we tried doing it with we didn't want the kids to wake up as early, as often as we thought. So we thought, well, maybe one morning a week, and then Mondays are kind of loose practice, kind of light and mindset stuff. And then let's lift for 45 minutes and kind of transition like 2 groups in and out. And it was kind of messy. So then last year, Coach Hayes and I just said, let's just do Tuesdays, Thursdays every week at 6 a.m. And then for us going over to Central Time Zone for tournaments, they're already waking up that early twice a week. And before the season, we got a full month of 3 lifts a week, like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And then once tournament started, we did 2 mornings a week. And I think we, with the people we were working with, did pretty well with our lifting, and like our weight, our strength maintenance was mainly what it was. And so, like I said, what it'll look like this year, I don't know, but I think that lifting component of wrestling, it's just got to happen.
Are you putting them on a plan that they're lifting certain amount, or do you set up standards? Let's say they, what their minimums, their maxes are, and reps, or do you put them through just a main program that they're lifting certain things?
Yeah, so we have a group at that's been contracted with Dickinson High School to do in-season lifting for every program, and it's paid for, so you can do it if you want. You don't have to. So they're actually trainers in town, so we just let them have it. And the first year we kind of let them just do whatever they thought was best, but then we noticed some things we weren't hitting well as a wrestling team. So we said, like we need injury prevention for shoulders and knees, but our guys we just gotta move weight. We gotta move weight fast, and that's kind of my philosophy. How fast are you strong? And so so kind of having those talks, some things changed, I think, for the better, and I think things can still be improved. But for that, you do have trainers in town who know what they're doing, and then definitely communicate with us well. So we'll see what'll happen this year.
Okay. Well, awesome. I tell you what, one more quick thing, and I've got so many. We've been on 45, 48 minutes already.
It's crazy, amazing, right?
Yeah, it's crazy how time goes. But I have heard this. Now, I don't know enough about what you guys are doing in Dickinson, but you are the first team I heard about a mindset thing. And this was from another parent. They were talking about some worksheets that they were doing. Now, you need to fill me in what this mindset stuff you're doing, how long you've been doing it. And is it a goal-setting program? I know you have mentors from out of state. He had said this last guy was from Pennsylvania somewhere.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
And that's getting me to talk to some parents. And so I kept this in the back of my mind the wrestling season last year. And I was meaning to talk to you last spring, but we got all this crazy stuff going on because I'm a big believer in mindset. And people don't understand. In fact, I don't have it here by this computer, but I do a goal setting thing that even my wife doesn't know I do, where I write stuff down and I plan out my day and I do certain things which put me in the right mindset. Affirmations, different things to tell me to keep a goal and so I have something that I need to accomplish on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. Tell me about your mindset program, as deep as you can get in a 5-10 minute span, because I'm really interested. I'd like to see what you're doing.
Yeah. It was brought to our attention by Nevada Crimmins, one of those volunteer assistants, and he had his son signed up for an individual program the year before. And
tell me how much a whole team is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, like cost.
Yeah.
Is
it a club or your?
So our team does. So you can do it as an individual or with a team. So we chose to go the team route because Nevada brought it to our attention, and we weren't 100% sold on it. And so we talked at one of our coaching meetings, and I think there are like 12 sessions a year, like once a week would be a full year's membership. Yep. So I said, well, let's do it 6 times. Let's just kind of, get our feet wet and see how we like it. And kudos to Nevada for stepping up and saying, like, I'm a believer in, if you're going to do something, go all in, and then better if it was effective or not. So we did that year, and it was kind of weird. We after Mondays after practice, we went up to Dobitz's classroom. He had the big screen, and we kind of just FaceTime our mindset coach. He was out of Wisconsin, and had a workbook. It's like 90 pages. We don't do every work
setting. Is what's in the workbook?
Yeah, so there are like kind of chapters actually. So there are 12 chapters, I guess you could say, one for each session. And the first one goes over predator versus prey mindset. Like, are you going into matches like a predator, looking to attack, looking to be aggressive, or are you a prey where you're just like, I just don't want to lose. I just don't want to lose too bad. So you identify those, and then some red flags that come with mindset. Like, is he a practice room wrestler? Does he wrestle to his opponent? And so you're kind of opening your eyes to those different aspects of mindset in wrestling. And then as you go on, one of my favorite chapters is the pre-match warm-up, because it's actually a worksheet that the kids write down their pre-match warm-up. So they have like 5 options before a match. I want my coach to joke with me, don't say anything, talk to me about technique, or slap me in the face. That's actually one answer. and that was so eye-opening to me.
I love it already. Yeah,
because I'm kind of a guy who I kind of feel relaxed before a match, and like Troy Berg likes the Oakland Raiders or Vegas Raiders like me. So I'll kind of talk about that. But, then you see some of these kids that, one says, don't tell me the kid isn't good, because I know the kid is good. Like, don't lie to me like that.
Right. Okay.
And you're like, oh, okay. And some kid says, hey, just go over my technique with me really quick. And then another kid, he said, don't talk to me before my match. Just don't talk. And then after your match, how do you want your coach to address you? Because they say your coach does need to address you. Right. One option's like, don't talk to me for 5 minutes. Talk to me, but be light on the criticism. And then another one is just, hit the nail on the head. Yep, hammer me. What did I do wrong? So that's such an eye opener to know that the kids, they see it in front of them, that they have a plan, because I think sometimes we're just bad at, writing plans. And so the kid has a plan, they know what they need to do. And then they have an accountability partner, that what we call their AP. So usually it's like within a weight class. So if I'm getting ready for a match, you're going to get me warmed up too. So we need to pummel, we need to do some half shots. And like we told our kids, and our wrestling mindset coach said, you got to be dripping sweat going on the mat. We saw a huge difference, a couple of years ago with that, because our kids were like, oh, I don't want to warm up too hard and get tired before a match. And our mindset coach goes, that is crap. You're not going to work that hard in a warm up. So, so we now have a mindset coach from Pennsylvania, Buck Watkins, and he's the man. And our kids last year, like first day of mindset, we were waiting in the classroom for him to FaceTime. And one of our kids goes, you have no idea how psyched I am to talk to Buck this year. But he's like friended us on Facebook. He goes, guys, you got to send me a Dickinson Midgets t-shirt. So we did that. And then when we went undefeated at the Fargo Metro duels that year, he posted like the combined score difference that we had and went 5-0. Like he posted that on Facebook and goes, hey guys, my mindset team from Dickinson did this. And he was just crucial, in the last couple of years we've had. But it's a very structured program, and the creators at Wrestling Mindset, it's now under the winning mindset umbrella, because they have like lacrosse mindset, football mindset, but
winning mindset.
Yep.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to contact him and see if I can get a sponsorship, get him out there. I'm impressed. I'd love to see what these worksheets, this program looks like. I'm excited. That's awesome.
Yeah, and like we've said, like that was kind of been our X factor the last 2 years, because we had like one of those trainers who does our lifting. He said, you know, what can I do for some buy-in? And I said, if you come to our mindset session, like that's what our kids like, that's our thing. And we say after every practice, like you talk about verbal affirmation, we talk about I am thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. And we say all those 4 mindset principles, and that's just what the kids hold on to, you know, and practice every day and start a tournament with those mindset principles. It's really cool that the kids have bought in, and it's more than wrestling. You know, it's about that mindset in life.
So they probably have a set of basic affirmations. Like I know what I do. Is there a set of stuff?
Yep. So after every practice, they say, I'm thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. I am aggressive and relentless. I have no fear of losing or making mistakes, and I will never, ever give up. And so a couple of years ago, our seniors wrote it on the whiteboard. And, you know, we saw it every day at practice. And then right before.
I think I saw that in your wrestling room.
Yeah.
Now that I think I walked in your weigh-ins, bet you I saw that. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So
I will never, ever give up. I think it said on there.
That's so like, when we say that before a duel and tournament, that's kind of like the kids know it's go time. Like we've said our prayer and we did our mindset principles. We're ready to rock.
I don't know, Bill. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Carrington's been in the wrestling mindset program for I think the 2016 was the first year. Billy's, I think the very first year. The college program has also been doing it at Northern. I know St. Cloud State's, you know, number 1 team in the nation for several years, and you know, they're in there. You know, they're doing the same thing. So. Iowa State's another one that's on board. You know, the Zanettis have a great program going out there in Pennsylvania. You know, this has been they're you know, they got the right stuff going on. You know, their minds are right. They're thinking right. They're, you know, they're humble, and they're, you know, sharing with the kids. And so, yeah, it really is a great program.
Yeah. And I think the thing that jumped out at us, our very first meeting, was when our mindset coach said, how many, you know, what do you guys think, Dickinson High School? What do you think the ratio is of mental to physical percent of wrestling? And our kids thought of, well, it's 80% mental and 20% physical. And we agreed as coaches, thought it was good. And then our mindset coach says, okay, then why are your practices 100% mental or physical?
Physical, yeah.
And we just looked at each other. You know, it's just the way it's always been done. So then we, you know, you saw a need to change and change something. And like I said, our fellows really grabbed onto it, and they've really enjoyed it the last few years.
I tell you what, it's a new aspect, because I tell you what, being tough mentally in wrestling is as big as anything. If you can't handle wrestling mentally, you're not going to handle it in the mat. And it's one of those building blocks that wrestling gives to kids, being mentally tough, and then you could last through life if you're mentally tough. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, well, we're at an hour, so not to interrupt, Conrad, you've been awesome. I want to talk a little senior nationals. Now, before I do that, Conrad, who's your college wrestling team besides Dickinson, of course, DSU? Who's your main wrestling team?
Got to be the University of Michigan. So I'll be cheering for the TANF. It's pretty big. My summer before my senior year, my uncle sent me to Michigan's heavyweight camp. So, you know, talk about a camp with like 500 wrestlers and being trained by some of their Olympians, Andy Rovat, and Tyrell Todd was an All-American for them. And he's from Bozeman, Montana. So really looked up to him growing up and got to meet him and Coach McFarland, and talked about paddle fishing in Glendive. They're big fishermen, just an awesome place. So Ann Arbor, yeah, if I can retire there, I'd be pretty happy. So go blue.
That is pretty awesome, because I tell you what, I'll talk to 100 people, and you're one of 100 that'll pick that wrestling team. It's usually hop on the train with somebody else. I know a lot of Penn State people that hopped on as soon as Cale went over, but I've been Iowa, but that was the studs back in the 80s when I grew up. It wasn't the 90s or the late 80s. It was the Iowas going back to, you know, I started to think of all the wrestlers, but it goes back to the beginning of Dan Gable, you know, that type of stuff. But so Bill gives me a hard time that we're going to talk about Iowa or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least
Bill-
just
Bill-
tell us you're a Steiner fan, and then
Yeah,
we all
yeah,
understand, right?
Of course. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, knowing them very well. But Bill, what's your official college team?
Oh, you know what?
I've never heard your.
Yeah, you know what? I like a lot of teams. And partly because I like a lot of the coaches, to be honest with you. But I end up finding myself cheering a lot for the Gophers. So that's yeah,
Robinson.
Well, Jay Robinson, Jay Rob I went to it was actually in Iowa at the time, but it was, the original J Rob camp, but it was an intensive training camp when I was in high school. So, we took a, wagon train down there and rode horses, and it was a long time ago, but yeah. So,
wagon train, that's a long time. No.
Oh, it was a long time ago, but yeah. So I do follow, the Gophers probably, if I'm picking one to cheer for, they're probably it. But we have such a tremendous opportunity to follow different athletes these days and different coaches, and you kind of get to know them a little bit, and you get to know the backstories. And so I like a lot of teams. I like a lot of individuals, and if but I'm always one that enjoys duels. So there's if we're gonna be looking for a dual championship, I'm probably going to be wearing, the Gopher colors. So,
well, what's interesting, it's kind of like fantasy football, where there's a lot of guys that aren't team guys anymore. They're individuals. And so it's interesting. I hear that all the time. Okay. So let's talk senior national. So what I'm going to do, see if I can share a screen here. I was going to show people, see if I can bring that up or not. Applications. Maybe not. Let's see. I had put up the screen. I had the rankings so people could see them as you kind of go through some of the stuff with the senior nationals. Trevor, you can definitely hang on. I'm not going to cut you off, but we're going to try to make this about another 10, 15 minutes. Can you hang with us?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Trevor, while he's looking for his stuff. Do you follow a lot of college wrestling and international wrestling as the season goes on? I know it's hard when you're a high school coach, but
yeah, I actually got more into it when we had our first set of twins, because then I ended up doing a little more social media for the wrestling program. And then once you follow a lot of, I didn't really know what Final X was until I had a lot of time on social media to switch up. So my college following's gotten a lot better, especially following like the Wolverines, and then any guys from Montana or North Dakota, really enjoy following them. International, kind of getting better at that. I know a lot of our former teammates at DSU are kind of keeping us up to date on that stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there I go. I got some of we're still on the screen, but you can start looking. I put up some senior national rankings. Now they call it rankings, but these are actually the seeds for the wrestling tournament. And so let's have Bill. He's the main guy. I'm going to let you start on this. And if I've got some questions, you can fire away anywhere you want. I can go to any weight class. What do you?
Yeah, well, I may as well. This. We're not going to do justice to this tonight. I'm just going to tell you that for sure, because we got three styles. We got a women's tournament. We got a men's freestyle and a Greco tournament. But if we're going to kind of start off on just the freestyle side, there's only 6 weight classes. These are Olympic weights. So at 57 kilograms, the little guy is 125.5 pounds. It's really a neat field. I think you got a pretty deep field. The top 12 there are all really, really solid. I think Vitali Aruju he's a Cornell kid, obviously, is your number 1 seed. And I think, I kind of think he's the favorite. Darian Cruz at 2, Zane Richards at 3. So Frank Pirelli at 4, Jack Bueller, he's really tough. He's a huge 125 pounder, obviously. I
like how you say obviously.
Brandon Courtney down at number 9 is kind of, I think, a guy that could sneak in there into the top 8. He that 9-8 match with Skylar Petrie from Minnesota is going to be really, really a tough match for Petrie. I think Courtney he's a young guy, but super really he's had a lot of freestyle success. You look down at the number 11 seed. I don't know if Matthew Ramos was a cadet world champion. So, there's a lot of really good athletes in here. This is going to be a fun weight class. Sean Russell at number 7, another Gopher. He's a transfer from Edinburgh, but finished up his career at Minnesota. I do think it's Aruja's weight to win. I'm going to kind of say it's going to be an Arujau Zane Richards final. I think the last time I saw Cruz was one of the events this summer, and he was not in very good shape. He's probably in better shape today, I would guess, but there's a little bit of a COVID tax for everybody, I think, at this season. But I'd say Richards, has a good chance of making the finals there against Vito.
Okay. One of my favorite weight classes, 65.
65. And then, I guess I haven't seen any changes. If we go back to 57, one guy that has talked about entering and had not entered, and it closed tonight. So if it happened at the end of the night, was Thomas Gilman. So obviously he could throw a wrench into the deal. You could end up with someone like Dayton Fix not coming over from Oklahoma State too. That'd be a possibility. 65 kilograms. This is, really a solid deep weight class for the United States overall. We don't have probably our top three guys in the weight.
I think this is the most open weight classes of all of them. If you're going to find a wild card to make it in, this is probably the one that could happen. Yeah, it's really interesting. Joey McKenna, as the number one seed, he had a really good freestyle season. He looked really good at their he would have been senior nationals last year down in Dallas. He's the one seed. Jaden Ironman, Missouri transfer that's now wrestling for the Hawkeyes. Number two, he is as excited of a freestyle wrestler as there is in this weight class for sure. Evan Henderson, 3. Now, Andy Simmons, that's the 4 seed. I think, I don't know, is he 33, 34 years old? He's so, we all remember, probably, Andy's brother, Nick Simmons a little bit better, but he has come kind of out of retirement and had a really good wrestling season this year. He wrestled at the Bill Farrell, looked really good, looked good at the senior nationals last year in Dallas. So all the way at the 4 seed, that's, him and Joey McKenna really could be a pretty interesting match. I think McKenna comes out of this bracket as the number, in the finals. Now, Simmons, did he wrestle for Michigan? Or
Central Michigan.
Okay. I knew he was.
Central Michigan. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Michigan State.
Okay.
Michigan State.
Okay.
And Cannon Store. There's your Michigan flavor there. He's really, really good in freestyle. Dean Heil, Oklahoma State guy. He's obviously, a pretty good freestyle wrestler too. I think actually another one here that I could see coming from a ways down would be Matthew Kolodzic, Princeton guy. Really, he did take an Olympic red shirt this year, and then this was maybe one of the saddest things that happened, right? As a senior, took an Olympic red shirt, came out about 2 weeks before the conference tournaments, pulled his red shirt, and then had the season get canceled on you. So that was a tough one. That I felt as bad for him as anybody in the
Ohio State boy in there
in the bracket. Pletcher. Pletcher way down at 11. What did he do all year but just
dominate?
Absolutely beat people up. So
that's why I looked at this going, oh my.
This one is deep. I think this one is deep. Yeah. Here you got number 16, Austin Gomez. When you got Austin Gomez at number 16, now of course,
but you might have Heil and Pletcher go first round. I was thinking if they go by normal seeds there.
It all depends on how many you get, right?
Right. Because there could be more than the 16.
Yeah.
I forget about that. Okay.
So, but this bracket really is 16 deep. Yaya Thomas, Northwestern guy at number 12 is really good. Nick Dardanes, obviously, Gopher wrestler that ended up training at Iowa for a while and is now, I think, in Illinois, if I remember right. Chad Red from Nebraska. He doesn't ever wrestle real good in October, November. So if someone tells him it's March, he probably wins this bracket. Ethan Lezak, another former Gopher, returning, or I mean, he was a national finalist. Mitch McKee, Gopher wrestler. One thing about McKee, if you watched him wrestle in freestyle before, if he could break any match open with a head pinch at any time. All of a sudden you hit, 2 4-point moves, and it's really tough to come back from him. So this will be a fun bracket. I do think Joey McKenna makes the finals.
Okay.
And if I really had to pick, I'd probably pick Ironman as the other finalist, but it'll be a fun bracket for sure.
Well, I like Ironman a lot, but I just see so many wild cards in here. I even remember watching, Gomez was not bad. He was an exciting wrestler going way down to number 16.
Yeah.
He's an Iowa State boy.
Yep.
And I remember him wrestling along the way. And gosh, I just remember him being dominated at times where he had, I was looking at, I haven't never done the fantasy stuff, and I know you do, but he was into a bunch of pins in Tech Falls last year. I was looking at some people things, and he was highly ranked on scoring points in that fantasy stuff. You remember that?
Well, yeah. Gomez actually last year missed the season with injury. He had
the previous year.
Yeah, but the previous year he was tough. He throws everybody to their back. He was a Fargo champ, both freestyle and Greco. Go Gomez. He's
go Gomez. Yeah.
He's a good one. Now, there's one one NCAA national champ in that bracket, and that's Dean Heil. Lots of All-Americans.
That's what's crazy about freestyle, though. As it starts going freestyle, you don't always find the guys who are national champs winning that stuff.
Right. Right. Next weight, 74 kilograms. Number 1 seed is your Michigan Wolverine. Logan Massa. I think Massa was in the same graduating class in high school as Ryan Blease. So this kind of gives you that, where he's at. He's a 6th-year senior, I think, or a 6th-year student at Michigan. He did the Olympic he had a regular red shirt early. Had an Olympic red shirt last year. He still has a year of eligibility left.
Jeez.
He did win the senior nationals last year at this weight class in Dallas. So, he's qualified, ready to go to the Olympic trials. He's he is a former All-American in NCAA, but he freestyles his best style. That's for sure. And he never did win Fargo, but that's only because there was a young man named Ryan Blease in the bracket every year. So, Evan Wick, Wisconsin wrestlers, number 2. I'm not completely shocked by that, but a little surprised that, by that. Evan actually did have a good tournament down at senior nationals also. But he was a Fargo champ. Anthony Valencia, the 3 seed. Anthony's not been an All-American yet. He is significantly better in freestyle, and I don't really know why. Nobody can quite figure it out. I don't think he's wrestles the same style. He doesn't wrestle some style that's only good in freestyle. But he just always wrestles better in freestyle. So I think this is a really good weight for him, 163 pounds. I thought of him when you were talking about some of these kids go to Fargo and end up, maybe they go 0-2 in freestyle. My kid's Billy's first year wrestling in Fargo, his second match was against Anthony Valencia. So that was a good way to start. And actually one year at junior duels, I think Billy was maybe went 5-1 or 4-1 or something. And his only loss was to the number 6 seed in here, Hayden Hidley. So it's fun to go to those big tournaments. I always tell them, isn't that fun? You get to go down there. But when we go down there, Ryan Deacon from Northwestern, he's really a little more of a 70-kilogram guy, but he looks really big at that weight too. Okay. He's one of those guys kind of looks like maybe he's got hollow bones. I don't know how he weighs what he weighs. But he's really good. David Carr, Iowa State guy.
Cyclone, yep.
Yeah, he's really I'm going to pick David Carr to win this bracket, but Hidley could win it. Lally could win it. Yeah, it's a good bracket. That'll be fun. It's not quite as deep, but it's going to be the quarters to the finals are going to be really good.
I was kind of interested while Wick got number 2. I wasn't sure about that so much when I looked at that.
Yeah, I think
even this last year, Wick lost some matches,
Yeah, and I don't know that they used the college results that much. I think they used a lot of freestyle results. Now, there's a number of these guys that have been, have made world teams in the past. I think Evan Wick may have made like a U23 team.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure. It seems like he had. I know Deacon is a guy that's made the world team before. He beat James Green in Final X a couple of years ago at 70 kilograms. So David Carr did win a junior world gold medal last year. He's really good in freestyle, but he's just really good.
Now, where is Sunkist based out of? Is that still out of California, or are they all over the nation like this? Hidley, isn't he a North Carolina guy?
Hidley is a North Carolina guy, but that's the Titan Mercury Wrestling Club.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Sunkist is really, for the most part, out of Arizona State.
Okay.
But I think Jordan Burroughs, wrestles for Sunkist kids too, as well as the, Nebraska RTC. So
I don't know those connections. It's pretty easy to pick out what Cyclone would be, what a Gopher Club would be, what an Illinois,
right.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the Titan Mercury Wrestling Club actually sponsors a lot of athletes from a lot of different regional training centers.
Okay.
They put quite a bit of money into the sport. So yeah, you'll see Titan Mercury guys.
Not like the old DuPont, is it?
No, it's not. But it's not a lot different. To be honest with you. But yeah, you'll see those Titan Mercury guys at Iowa. You'll see them you'll see them all over the place. Cliff Keen guys are pretty much all in Michigan. They are all in Michigan, but
I cannot believe how many people are wrestling in Michigan, especially in these alternate styles.
Yep.
Freestyle and Greco. Michigan State guys. Yep. Wisconsin guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And internationally. So 86 kilograms, really a deep weight again. They seeded 12 here. That's one thing we talk about 65. They seeded 16 kids. So 16 guys and gentlemen, athletes. Wow. But here they seeded 12 again, and they're pretty solid, all 12. Nate Jackson is the number 1 seed. He's also a couple of these. There's a handful of these guys in here are wrestling in that bracket, that 195-pound 8-man bracket for 20,000 that Flo's doing on October 31st. So Nate Jackson would be one. Gabe Dean is one. Taylor Lujan is one. So there's a few of those, but Nate Jackson out of New York Athletic Club is the 1 seed. Gabe Dean, when he wrestles his match here on Saturday, I read somewhere have been 1,200 days or more since his last match.
Wow.
So I believe it.
But he's a 2-time national champion.
Yep.
Had every favored to be a 3-time national champion until he ran into Bo Nickel.
Yep.
And the one thing I think about Gabe Dean is, he's scrapping every day with Kyle Dake. So, and his brother Max Dean, who's also in this bracket. So
now are they twins or are they?
No.
I don't know.
Gabe is quite a bit older.
Okay.
Yep. And if we want to talk about, we were talking about multi-sport athletes earlier, Gabe Dean, he really didn't, he was a wrestler all his life. His dad was a college wrestler for the University of Minnesota. Gabe and Max grew up in Michigan. He had his plan was to be a Division I college football player.
Okay.
And he was going to be a quarterback, and he went down to Georgia Tech for a quarterback camp, and they said, "You're too short to be a Division I quarterback." And oh man, did that take the wind out of his sails? And he said, "Well, he was going to start concentrating on wrestling," and it worked out.
So Cornell.
What's that?
I know that Max is at Cornell.
They are. Yeah, Max is at Cornell, and Gabe is an assistant coach at Cornell.
That's what it is. Okay, because there's a few years that I swear I didn't memorize the teams. I just remembered the wrestlers.
Yeah, and Gabe was a 2-time national champion at Cornell and a 1-time runner-up. So
just trying to put this into my memory bank. I was thinking Cornell the whole time, but okay.
Now Trent Hidley, that's the younger brother but bigger brother of
the other Hidley below the weight class.
Yeah. And
Right
You know,
there.
he's Hayden. Yep. And Trent is really, really exciting. He's, he'll throw a guy on his head pretty quick. I know those two guys have been wrestling all summer. COVID probably didn't affect them a lot. I do know that, they're North Carolina State guys, and North Carolina State sent in 4 guys out here, one at 57 kilograms, and then Hayden and Trent, and then we'll get to one up at 97 kilograms too. And, their training program is they're pretty much stuck with one person. They're training with one guy all the time. Okay. All of their preseason work, everything is just one-on-one. So, now Brett Farr, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going down the list and I see Tiger. Is that Missouri?
That's Missouri. Yep. Rocky Elam is, that's actually, to me, probably a pretty high seed for,
okay.
Yeah. So I think, Brett Farr, another gopher, he could be in the finals here. David McFadden, he's a Virginia Tech wrestler. He really tough. Drew Foster, that Panther Wrestling Club, that's Northern Iowa.
Okay.
Devin Skatzke, he's a gopher wrestler. Mikey Labriola, that's actually 11 and 12, both Nebraska guys. Both guys that could throw someone on their head pretty quick. Mikey Labriola is a little bit funkier. He was a Pennsylvania kid. Taylor Venn's a Minnesota kid that's a really tough upper body. Like all those Minnesota guys, they end up wrestling freestyle and Greco a lot. So he I think I picked Gabe Dean to make the finals of the 8-man bracket, so I'm going to pick him here too. I don't know. I think it'll be I don't know. I think that Nate Jackson and Brett Farr could be a heck of a match. So
okay, well, good. Because I tell you what, Nate Jackson, just the name Jackson scares me going back to my era. I know that he must be 21, 22. He's pretty young yet.
He's a grad. He's a little older. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to 97. I know we can talk. Bill, you amaze me every time because you know all these wrestlers. I give you another kudos because that's awesome.
97 kilograms. This one's probably pretty easy. We're going to try to figure out who might end up in the finals against Kyle Snyder. Kyle Snyder is one of the top 5 wrestlers on the planet. And he's going to be in Iowa City this weekend. So that'll be, or Coralville, I guess. I was surprised. I'm not surprised, I guess, because I think he's just trying to see, he made the move from Ohio State to Penn State.
Yep.
And I'm sure he's trying to, see what kind of, what gains he's made, and nobody's got to get out there got to get in the streets and wrestle, so, right. But the 2 seed, an NDSU Bison wrestler, Hayden Zilmer, he's just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I don't know. I still remember when he won, a Fargo title at 90 pounds. I don't know how he's as big as he is now. He's just a beast. And the 3, but he's going to have it. It's not a guaranteed.
Colin Moore is going to be. Yeah.
Colin Moore, Hayden Zilmer and Colin Moore had a match last December at the Senior Nationals that I think Colin Moore was ahead 9-1. Maybe it was 9-2. 9-2, I think. No, I think it was 9-1 with in the first period with a leg lace locked up, and it was, I can't believe Zilmer didn't go, and then before he did go over, his head went out of bounds, and they blew it dead, and then Hayden Zilmer came back and won the match. Wow. So it was, I think it ended up like 13-11 or something like that. So it was pretty exciting. Of course, I'm a Zilmer fan, so that was fun to see. But that Colin Moore's gonna be coming again. He's got a ton of attacks. Kyvan Gadsden, Iowa State national champion. One of the few people to beat Kyle Snyder in college. So he's there, but he's been the number 2 guy really at this weight for a number of years. He did lose to Colin Moore in December at that tournament. So, he dropped down to the 4 seed. So he's good. Ty Walls at 6 is really tough. He's athletic and strong.
I saw him wrestling something now.
Yep.
Did he wrestle heavyweight previous?
Yes. Yeah, he was a college heavyweight.
Okay, guess that's so I was trying to remember. Okay.
Yep. Virginia Tech. Yep. Nick Reenan is the other North Carolina State guy here at the 8 seed. He was out. He wrestled the whole season, but he had a bad knee. Kind of nursed that along. I think he's pretty well healed up now. But this is a big weight for him. I mean, you'll never see him at 97 kilograms again. But that's another guy paying the COVID tax. I mean, it was once they finally made the decision that they could make this trip, then it was kind of too late to go down to 86 kilograms. So that'll be a big. Nino Bonacorsi at 13 is really, really good. Eric Schultz at 12 is really good. He's he's had a great freestyle career and was actually very good in Greco. So
I'm guessing you're not leaving your computer this weekend.
Oh, I'll see a lot of it. Yeah. I'll see a lot of it. I'll watch it all at some point. I don't know that it's going to be nice weather, so I like to be outside. So we'll see how it works out.
Sure.
We go to 125 kilograms. You got Don Bradley from Missouri. He was it's been kind of that, depending on, over the last 5 years, he's been the 2 or 3 best heavyweight in the country at the senior level. I think Mason Paris is, I don't know. Mason Paris is really good. He's world champ last year, pinned everybody at the world tournament as a junior, the junior worlds. Probably had wrestled a freestyle match before the junior world trials in quite a while. Actually, he did wrestle Fargo his senior year, but he was a guy that really played a lot of football. So he didn't really wrestle a lot in the off season at all. Coming out of high school, and he's really made great gains at Michigan. That'll be an interesting, if those two meet up in the finals, that'll be very interesting. I think at this point, I still pick Don Bradley. He can slow a lot of people down, and he's still very explosive. But Paris could really give him a tough match. Besides that, I don't think you see anybody else. I mean, there's other guys in here that are pretty good, obviously, but I don't see, you got Trent Hidley from Wisconsin's in here. He's good. And him and Paris have had some good matches. Tate Orndorff, who just transferred from Utah Valley to Ohio State, very good heavyweight. I thought he maybe was a little bit better Greco. Tanner Hall, he's about 42, but he did just graduate from Arizona State. He's very good too, but he's not. I think he's a different style heavyweight than somebody like Mason Paris. So yeah, I think your finals will be Don Bradley and Mason Paris there, and I'm gonna pick Bradley, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Now I know that there's Greco. I didn't get those, but the women's. Anybody wants to stick out there? And then we're getting close to that hour and a half, and I've got some quick questions for Conrad before we go.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have anything against Greco, but I really like to talk about the women. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So 50 kilogram is the smallest weight on the women's side. Sarah Hildebrandt is the 1 seed and in the class of this weight class. But Alyssa Lampe brings it. She's really good. Amy Fernside is really, really tough. And Emily Shilson, the Minnesota kid that she wrestled in Beat the Streets a couple weeks ago and looked tremendous. She wrestled for she was a freshman this year, wrestled for Augsburg. Really, I mean, she's still small. I mean, obviously they're all small, but she's probably still going to be smaller physically than a lot of these, but she's got great technique, scored on a lot of different kinds of attacks. So I think Sarah Hildebrandt wins it. I'd like to see Shilson in the finals, but any of those
flavor here. on 53.
What's that?
South Dakota flavor at 53.
Yes. Yeah. Ronna Heaton, the 2 seed. I haven't seen Ronna wrestle in a while, so I'm excited to see her.
She got the 2 seed, but was good to see.
Catherine Shy is, is really maybe heads and tails above anybody else at this weight class. But I'm excited to see. Hopefully it's Catherine and Ronna in the finals, and hopefully we see Ronna, come out on top. When she was in high school, she wrestled. So it would have been 2016, 15, I suppose that fall. She wrestled at the Wahpeton tournament. So the Dan Unruh, she did good there. That was the 1 year we went to that. So, let's see here, 57 kilograms. Allie Ragan is too good. She's too good for anybody. She's the number 2 ranked wrestler in the country at this weight, and she's really good. She's been a world team member before. And Ragan will dominate this. It's just a matter of that. Helen Muralis is also at that weight. She has not entered in the tournament here yet, obviously, and if she does, she'd be number 1, and then it'd be a battle. But Allie Ragan is really good. So,
how come all of our number 1s in both men and women are not in there?
I'll be right back again.
Well, I think in some cases, I don't know. I can't tell you. I wish I knew. I'd love to see them all there, but these, you don't know how COVID has affected a lot of these people, and a lot of them are already qualified for the Olympic trials, which are scheduled to happen next April. You do have, say, our number 1 at 74 kilograms in the men's. Jordan Burroughs is going to wrestle Zahid Valencia at 185 pounds 2 weeks, in November. So I don't, he's not going to be here at 74 kilograms, So, I mean, they're just doing different things, but we're seeing a fair number of wrestlers here anyway. Now, Helen Muralis, she's been, she's really come back a long ways from some concussion problems. So hopefully she'll be 100% ready to go as time goes on. So, but now here is at 62 kilograms. Macy Kilty is the number 1 ranked wrestler in the country at this weight, and she is, I think, the class of the weight. She's won, I think, like 5 world medals at different, everything from cadets to U23s, and hasn't won a world medal at the senior level yet, but she's not far from it. So she's still developing. 68 kilograms, probably one of my maybe my favorite female wrestler, Forrest Molinari. She's I think the number 2 wrestler at this weight in the country. But she trains in Iowa, and she wrestles Iowa style, and she is now, I think she moved. She was in Iowa. I think now she's moved to Arizona State, but she is tough and hard-nosed and just keeps coming at you, and got a lot of good technique. Rachel Waters is another one I've seen wrestle really, really well. Alexandra Glady looked really good in one event I saw her wrestle in this summer. So I think Forrest wins this, but it'll be fun. Kind of a neat one here at 76 kilograms. Adeline Gray is the number 1 wrestler in the country at that weight class. She's also number 1 in the seed here, of course. But if you go all the way down to number 6, the Geneva Gray, that's her sister. I don't think we've probably seen her wrestle. I don't know. I don't, a long time, 5-6 years maybe. She's been coaching, but for whatever reason, she and I've heard a interview with Adeline Gray in the past where she said, my sister's better than I am. I don't know that that's going to be the case today, but she's, so that'll be interesting. Precious Bell is really good. Victoria Francis has been good. I think they've all made world teams, if I remember right, at different weights. Victoria Francis was down a weight before. Precious Bell is the number 2 seed here. I think she won senior nationals last year. I don't think Adeline Gray was there at the time, but she did. She did. And then, Precious Bell, Victoria Francis, Adeline Gray, they've all made Final X, like we were talking about Final X. They've all made that. So be good. Be a lot of good matches there.
Awesome. Well, then the last thing I have on my list, what is the freak show? Well, there's a wrestling tournament in Iowa coming up, I think in a couple of weeks, or is it this weekend? No, it's high school kids and everything
Idaho.
else.
It's in Idaho.
Idaho.
Yep.
Idaho.
The freak show. Yep. Nampa, Idaho. Yep.
Des Moines. Or that's something else coming up. Des Moines.
In Des Moines will be preseason nationals.
Okay. I don't know why I put that. They have the preseason. Okay.
Yep.
It's been a long day. A lot of good wrestling.
Yeah,
definitely.
Thankfully, there's a lot of things to follow. So
yes,
that's a good thing.
I tell you what, do you watch Flow there, Trevor?
Yes. Yeah. Enjoy what they're doing for the sport.
Well, I tell you what, there's nothing that is better when you get into it. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now got a little bit different view here for a second. Got us different, but I tell you what, I'm going to fly through about half a dozen or so quick questions for you, just to get a little response, and then see what you say in some rapid fire questions. If you're ready,
yeah, I'm ready.
Okay,
you sure?
Surprised.
I
Okay.
hope so, yep.
Okay. First question is going to be, now you can only pick one of these as it goes. I got some this or this, and then if you want, you can give an explanation why if you want. But okay, first one: Gatorade or Powerade?
Powerade.
Okay, popsicles or dilly bars?
Dilly bars, ice cream.
Okay, there we go. Saturdays or Sundays?
Sundays for church.
Okay, there we go. Best day of the week?
Tuesday. Just rolls off the tongue. Tuesdays.
Mama's boy or a rebel?
I'd probably say rebel.
Okay, fast-paced or consistently slow?
Well, I had a freshman football coach name me Mr. Slow, so I would have to go with that. I made a tackle one time in practice, and I thought I read the offense right, and he goes, "Defense, what are we doing?" Mr. Slow made the tackle, so sums it up there.
Okay. Are you more a mental athlete or a physical athlete?
I'd say mental. I don't know if I was ever much of a physical athlete, so mental.
Okay. How about your athletes? Do you want to coach kids that are mental athletes or physical athletes?
I'd take a little bit of both, but if I got to pick one, say mental, because we can always gain some muscle if we need to.
There we go. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Dan Gable or Cale Sanderson?
Cale Sanderson. My son's name's Cale, so I got to go with that.
There we go. We go. Okay, favorite number?
I'd say 15.
15, is that a football number or baseball number? Or
well, I guess I was my birthday is February 15th, and then I wrestled 215. So I had a bunch of basketball buddies who took like mile marker signs of their basketball number, and the exit on the interstate by Glendale was 215, and I thought that'd be perfect. It's my birthday, my weight class. I mean,
215. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, favorite movie?
Oh, I'd have to go Walk the Line with Johnny Cash's life with Joaquin Phoenix, Reese Witherspoon. It's probably the best. It is the greatest movie ever made.
That's pretty good. Okay, best wrestler that you've wrestled?
Best wrestler that I've wrestled. I'd have to say it was Iowa heavyweight a couple of years ago. Sam Stoll.
Oh,
University of Iowa. Yep. We were at the Grandview Open. wrestled him quarterfinal, semifinal, something like that. And then I was able to wrestle Tanner Farmer when he was playing football for the Huskers. And then this last year, he just, made the national finals in NAIA. So cool. That's the coolest thing about wrestling. It's all divisions at every tournament. And that's what I tell kids who are thinking of wrestling in college. I said, you just don't get that in football and baseball very much. It's pretty cool to have that aspect.
Very true. Okay. How about favorite movie you like to show in practice?
Favorite movie? We had a coach.
No, move.
Move. Okay. I'm still stuck on movies. I'm an underhooks guy. I can show underhooks all season. I mean, we can go underhooks. Yeah, we can go underhooks. I mean, all day. But I guess I've tried my best not to make it like every kid's got to do an underhook. I mean, I'd like to show it to where if you're in it, then you at least know what to do. But gosh, I could spend the whole month of November and December on underhooks. That'd be great.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. No, I like cross-face cradles.
Oh yeah, long arms.
But the whole thing is just getting on top of somebody, and if a wrestler's messing around in practice, I think a cross-face cradle hurts a little worse than an underhook.
Yeah,
but the moves after an underhook could be pretty damaging too.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, one more. Favorite football team?
Las Vegas Raiders, and I almost said Oakland, but I'm getting used to it.
Okay.
Yeah, my uncle is an Oakland Raiders fan, and so I just he's kind of the first father figure I had in my life, and so he kind of blessed me with this curse of being a Raiders fan. But I do remember them playing in a Super Bowl, which not a lot of people can say about their team. But when they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Rich Gannon threw a Super Bowl record 5 interceptions, I've never been harassed more in my elementary life than the day after that Super Bowl.
That's pretty good. Okay, and then one I'm going to steal from another place because I'm kind of a fan. If you guys have never heard of it, how wrestling changed your life. Give me a 1 minute how wrestling has changed your life.
Yeah,
it's not a statement for anybody, but
yeah, no, wrestling has changed my life. I guess I'd say the confidence aspect of it. I went in and I don't know. I always, my parents told me whenever they dropped me off to school, I was always walking on the playground with my head down. And I know just like being in wrestling, just kind of something pretty interesting and pretty big in my confidence, just with like knowing what you're able to do mentally and also physically and mentally. I don't know which one's bigger there, but like one thing we did at Dickinson State was a 24-hour lock-in during preseason. So had a 24-hour practice, and we thought it was like a one-time deal and ended up being an every year deal. And I mean, when you go through that, I remember when our twins were born and I was walking through the doors to the NICU, and what went through my mind was, yeah, fatherhood's going to be tough, but it's not a 24-hour lock-in. And I mean, that's what went through my mind. I mean, I could, if I needed to stay up 2 full days to teach or stuff. I don't know. I just know that, I mean, I can do it because of the sport of wrestling, and the support system we have is just unmatched. Like our DSU wrestling buddies, we have a group message of 20 of us, and 15 of us live around Dickinson. So when you talk about like brothers you got, it's really unmatched.
No doubt. Bill, last comments for the week. We've got almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I've had enough. You've had enough of me. So hey, it's been a great conversation. I will say Nate Human, our buddy, just did post on there 65 kilogram and 86 are the best weights. And I made it, I've got a long-standing theory to not ever argue with Nate Human. So he is right.
No, I tell you what, Nate is an awesome guy too. I love him on. He is another college guy. He loves the sport. And he
just loves wrestling.
Great flavor to the show last year too. A couple times he came on. No, any last words, Trevor? Now, I didn't even mention what we're doing wrestling wise, and I could spend more time, but give me about 2 seconds of what I've heard for WDA. I forgot all about it. It was on my list. I looked over and there it is. But the way I hear it for WDA wrestling is they're pretty much tournaments have been now nixed unless you're WDA alone. Have you heard anything like that, Trevor, too?
Yeah. I guess I don't even know about tournaments, even if they are WDA, but sounds like duels and triangulars. That's kind of the name of the game. And we've really pushed for triangulars in the past because it saves weigh-ins and it gets our kids more matches. I think it's just better for the sport than if we got to drive 200 miles and have a chance for a kid to get a forfeit. So we've always been fans of triangulars, and I think this year it's going to be a lot of triangulars, a lot of duels, and we might have to wrestle the same guys a few times. But, if at the end of the day our kids get 20 matches, I mean, it's not ideal because we're so used to kids having 40, 50. But I think sometimes we forget in the 80s, they walked into the state tournament with 23 matches. And so if it's a year like that, it is. And I mean, we got to make the best of it. But I mean, I think a wrestling season is better, absolutely better than no wrestling season. And everyone here would agree.
Definitely. Yes. And the thing I worry about is those guys that are marginal, that are JV guys that get a few varsity matches.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can find enough common denominators to get people matches, no matter who they are. And that's probably going to be the toughest part, is satisfying everybody on the teams. And I'm hoping and praying that, everybody can get 20 matches. That would be beautiful. And then go into the state tournament. I have to work it out. That's just what I say. Seeds could be way different. We'll have to do a little more arguing and discussing. Guess what? This is how it really should be seeded. Because if you don't see anybody in the East, us coaches have to decide that.
Yeah.
And I really feel the West is dominated. You look at the duels last year, the West won all the duels. And it's different from year to year, but it's going to be a challenge. And that I'm just hoping we can overcome it.
Yeah. And I mean, if anything taught us from March, you got to take a week at a time and a day at a time and probably hour by hour. It's just kind of how things are now.
Okay. It's going to be very interesting, but we're going to keep up. If I hear anything wrestling-wise, I'll put it out there. Again, any last words, Trevor?
No, I just appreciate what you guys are doing. And like you said, just getting exposure of the sport of wrestling out there. And I think you guys are doing a great job, and sure appreciate the chance to be on here. And it's the world's greatest sport. So the more we can do to enhance it, the better for everyone.
Well, awesome. Definitely, guys, go out there, share. Make sure you guys promote the sport of wrestling. Make sure everybody knows that we're still wrestling. I mean, it's not like we are going to stop because we have close contact. We're very strong. We're a strong community. We're going to deal with, if anybody gets COVID, we're going to find the right way to deal with this. And guess what? I'm here anytime you need. Dakota Grappler. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for watching us for these 2 hours tonight. You guys take care. Thanks again.